opening new and new horizons about teaching. Let us know better about it.
Okay. What I see happening in the world today is, let me let this out as a four-part argument here. The first part is, I see some big things happening in the world today that I think is not only changing the world and the way the world operates, but because of that, it's changing what people need to know and be able to do in order to thrive and survive, both as individuals and as a whole society. Because the world is changing, second part, we need, students who are coming into the world need new kinds of learning. They need to learn new kinds of things. It's not enough just to memorize lots of information. They need to know how to do things. They need to know how to work in teams. They know how to relate to people. They need to know how to understand themselves. They need to know how to direct their own learning, etc. Because they need to learn new kinds of things, teachers, both in the public schools and in the universities, need to teach new things. And in order to teach new things, part three, they have to teach in more powerful ways. More powerful kinds of learning are going to require more powerful kinds of teaching. Part four, what that means is that the teachers are going to have to learn, for the first time, new ways of teaching. They can't just repeat the ways of teaching that their teachers had and do the same thing. They've got to learn new ways of teaching. And the good news is that there are people around the world who have created, some scholars of teaching and learning, who have created some new ideas about teaching and learning. So when teachers want to learn these new ways, there are ideas available. But what's needed are really two things. The need for the teachers to spend time learning these new ways of teaching, so they'll teach better, so students learn better, be more ready for the world. But the second thing that needs to happen is that the institutions, the schools and the universities, need to provide programs to help the teachers learn how to teach these new and more powerful ways. While they're teaching, part of their time needs to be given over to what we call professional development or faculty development, learning these new and more powerful ways of teaching.
هون استاذ حنين خلينا نسالك، الاي تي اكيد اهتمت بهالموضوع، وهالموضوع اللي كثير مهم يلي اوقات يمكن الاولاد بينفروا من كل شيء اسمه مدرسه، بالمستقبل الجامعه بتكون بس هي للشهاده، قد ايه مهم الواحد يطلع بشيء عن جد فهمانه ويطلع على العالم بشيء هيك مالكه هو ومتعلم مثل ما مزبوط ومثل ما لازم.
هي مثل ما قال دكتور فينك، اليوم تغيرات بالعالم، خلص صرت طالب انه التلميذ الجامعي يكون مختلف، يتخرج بطرق تعليميه مختلفه لحتى يطلع هو عنده مهارات مكتسبها من الطرق التعليميه تقدر تخليه ينجح بعالم معولم. وهون كانت بلشت حركتهم بامريكا بالولايات المتحده، وهون كانت اي تي تميزت من اول ما بلشت بهالطرق التعليميه الناشطه من تسمى والفاعله اكتيف ليرنينج، واللي هي انتقلت من التعليم الى التعلم. لانه اليوم ما بقى فينا نقول بدنا نعلم طلاب على الطرق القديمه، ما العالم تقدم كثير. اذا بدنا نعلمهم على الطرق القديمه والتقليديه، انه استاذ عم بيحاضر وتلميذ عم بياخذ نوتس، بنكون ما خدمنا الطالب مزبوط، اجينا وطلع ما استفاد شيء. الافور عم نحطه، المجهود عم تحطه الاي تي هو استثمار اذا بدك بقيمه التعليم، بالتعاون مع دكتور دي فينك والمؤسسه اللي يعني بيمثلها بامريكا، هي لحتى نخرج طالب حاضر للنجاح بعالم مثل ما هو عالمنا اليوم. مهارات التحليل النقدي، جمع المعلومات، الشغل ضمن جماعه، الاستقلاليه بالتفكير، كل هيدي هالمهارات بتصير مع الطرق التعليميه الجديده. وهيدي مثل ما قال دكتور فينك بدها مجهود، مش بس انه تتدربوا الاساتذه على الطرق الجديده، بدها الجامعه كمان تحط مجهود تقدر تعمل لهم سبورت، تقدر تدعم هالافور تبع الاساتذه. من هون كانت تعاوننا نحن وياه على المدى طويل.
Professor Fink, if we want to talk about these new learning methods, could we say that a better future would have our children, and at the same time they would be happier to go to schools, they would be happier to go to universities, not like taking and having something or a paper to put on the wall?
Oh yes, yes. There's a book that I put out about just about 10 years ago called Creating Significant Learning Experiences. And it's mainly about how to design your course so that students have a more powerful learning experience. But I put that book out about in 2003, but since then, a lot of professors have used these ideas. So just a year ago, we put out a new book with articles by these people who've used it. what they say is when they used these ideas and created these new learning experiences for students, a number of exciting things happened. One was students learned more.
Okay.
But the second thing was what you're talking about. Students got a lot more excited about learning. They wanted to learn because they saw the value of it. It was engaging. It was fun to work with other people. When you sit in a normal classroom, I'm not sure about Lebanon. I suspect, well, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same here as it is in the United States. But most of the time when you sit in a college classroom, but even in high school sometimes, what the student is doing for 80% of the time is sitting looking at the backs of other students' heads and the face of the teacher. That's not exciting. That's not exciting. Some heads are nice, but not many.
Not all.
Not many, yeah. But when you start using small groups in powerful ways and you're working with students and you're solving problems, and you can look at those problems and say, those are real problems. Those are problems I really might face 3 years, 5 years from now when I'm out of school. I want to learn how to solve those problems. When students can see that, they get excited, and it makes it more exciting for them. And when the teacher sees the students excited and learning more, it makes teaching a lot more fun for the teacher as well.
Exactly. فإذا هون كمان بس خلينا نحكي إنه في كمان workshops انعملت للمدارس رح تكون نهار السبت ونهار الجمعة كمان.
هي نهار الجمعة رح نعمل بريزنتيشن لمدراء المدارس.
اوكي.
رح تكون برعاية سيادة المطران بولس مطر لأنه هو رئيس اللجنة الإسقفية للمدارس الكاثوليكية. مفتوحة نهار الجمعة عشية لكل مدراء المدارس ليسمعوا من دكتور فينك ومنا ليش في أهمية بالتغيير اليوم بالطرق التعليمية حتى بالمدارس. وتاني يوم نهار السبت في ورك شوب لأساتذة المدارس الثانويين من الساعة 9 الصبح للساعة 4 الظهر. وهيدي الاي تي عملتها مثل تقديم كوميونتي سيرفيس للمجتمع المدني لحتى تفيد المدارس بالخبرات اللي عم توصلها بالجامعة.
Here we have your book, Creating Significant Learning Experiences, and it's also translated in Arabic, so it's something very exciting for all those who can't speak English. Let us talk a bit about these books and how much could they help creating significant learning experiences.
Well, let me just give you a real brief overview of that. The big thing that teachers have said the ideas in that book do for them is it allows them to be much more intentional about their teaching. What they mean by that is so many teachers without any preparation, college teachers especially, have no preparation for what they're doing as teachers. They learn a lot about their subject matter, but they're not prepared to teach at all. So they're just kind of in a fog. What this book does is lift that fog. Teachers can say, now I can sit down and think about what do I want students to learn with a lot more clarity, and if that's what I want them to learn, then I can ask myself, what would the students have to do to learn that? That's the learning activities. And then second, what would the students have to do for me and the students to know whether they had learned that? That's the assessment question. And if the teacher can have, and the book provides a framework for identifying good learning kinds of learning goals for the course, active learning for the learning activities, and something called educative assessment for the assessment, where it doesn't just give you a grade, but it helps the learning process. And then you put those together in some powerful teaching strategies. If the teacher can see all those pieces, they can create a learning experience. They know what they have to do, and they've got some tools to help them do it well. So that's the kind of thing they're finding valuable in that. And there was one big thing in there that's called for the learning goals, called a taxonomy. And this is the categories of learning, sort of big categories that have lots of sub-ones. It's called the taxonomy of significant learning. That's where the name came from. So that's what it's doing for teachers. Yeah.
Great. أستاذ حنين قد ايه بتحس انه رح نستفيد كلبنانية كطلاب لبنانية وتلاميذ لبنانية حتى اكيد نتعلم طرق جديدة للتعلم؟
يعني ما بقى في مهرب من التعلم، ننقل من التعليم للتعلم. العالم فرض علينا، واقع العالم اليوم فرض علينا. هلا في ناس ما بتهتم لهالشيء، بتقول لك انا بضمني على التعليم التقليدي، حرين. ولكن اذا بدنا نفيد طلابنا ونفيد الطلاب، يعني الجيل اللبناني اللي بده يطلع على سوق العمل يكون محضر مزبوط، واجباتنا نحمل هالتطور نحن. ونتامل كثير جامعات تلحق هالترند هذا، وخاصه المدارس كمان. المدرسه مهمه كثير، تقدر تبعت على الجامعه طالب بيقدر كمان عنده هالمهارات يقدر ينميها أكثر بالجامعة.
نحن بدنا نشكرك، يعطيك ألف عافية. We want to thank you, Dr. Fink, for bringing us all your experiences, and hopefully we will apply them here in Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you.
ميرسي استاذ حنان. مشاهدينا نحن رح ننتقل معكم وفي اطار المهرجان اللبناني للكتاب السنه 30 2011 يلي اقامته الحركه الثقافيه بانطلياس. رح نتابع معكم على هامش النص للدكتور نصيف أزي ونرجع لفقراتنا مع إلي.